Hey everybody, Mr. Pace, thanks for stopping by. We're going to get right to this. Everybody's been waiting for it, so I want to get this over with. All right. Opening monologue. Elected officials are held to a higher standard because that's what they're supposed to be. Other than unlike citizens who do whatever they want, elected officials are supposed to be an extension of who we are and represent what we do. In the case of Woodland Hills Metropolitan District, that's not the case. What you're about to hear will conclusively show with the evidence proof that the board of directors, and not all of them, the ones that were put on as a result of outside interference, collaboration, collusion, and I think the other word here was coordination, that's what it was, okay, was absolutely a coordinated effort to win an election, just like it's been for the last 4 election cycles, as will be shown in here. The reason why is because the people who out there had a financial stake in this district and didn't want to see that go away. So they found people on this board, puppets, okay, of which the biggest puppet here would be, well, Mrs. Pitsy, at her time when she was on the board. She is now admitted to, and strongly admitted to, a very inappropriate relationship with a developer that should have never happened as an elected official, because there was things that she could have told him that other people wouldn't have known as ordinary citizens. I'm against it. That's just it. The fact that she is now a special consultant to this district right after they got rid of Mr. McNally and is now in charge of our park and rec system again leads me to believe that there is something going on. The information on my website and comments made by people about influencing of public officials, that's up for speculation, and well, a district attorney that has the backbone to do an investigation needs to come in and look at. Because it's obviously clear here that something doesn't pass the sniff test. As far as I'm concerned, when people that work for this district have been shown in emails during business hours to be sending out information to the developers that are funding these things, well, they just don't need to be working here, because that's not their job. And then people that use their children as pawns or weapons in any kind of an adult or public outing of anything that has to do with this district is vile. And they shouldn't be working for us, because those are the people that are going to be the ones that we have to hold accountable. And since the board is refusing to do that, that's why we have mechanisms in this country to take action when it is necessary. And at this point, in my opinion, as the author of this website and a father of 2 children and a husband, action needs to be taken to restore the trust that this board does not have for a reason. Thank you. That's my opening statement. Let's get to the fun. This matter was filed by Matthew Arnold last year in 2016. The complaint concerns 6 flyers produced and distributed by the CIWRRG to both support and oppose candidates in the May 3rd, 2016 election for the Woodland Hills Metropolitan District Board of Directors. Following the ALJ's denial of its motion to dismiss, CRRG agreed that it failed to register as a political committee and failed to report expenditures and contributions as those terms are defined in Article, I'm not going to go through all that. It disputes that it, in Section 2, it disputes that it's subject to contribution limits, and that includes otherwise, and imposes a fine of $23,147.86. In the motion to dismiss, the Secretary of State, because this went all the way up to Wayne Williams' office. For those who don't understand who Wayne Williams is, he was the person that was down here in El Paso County that threw out the last recall for Mrs. Pitsy, adding 14 other items to what was already on the petitions. We objected to that, but Mrs. Smith and her committee didn't have the money to fight it, of record. Now, we want to go on to this, that once this was all done and they would not do it, no such requirement appears in the definition of a contribution at Section 2.5A. In any case, the complaint alleged in such coordination making dismissal improper. Following the denial of the motion to dismiss, CIWRRG conceded to such coordination. You understand? Board members coordinating with, you got it, There has been much feuding over the years regarding the elections to the Woodland Hills Metropolitan District Board of Directors. The parties agree to have the ALJ take judicial notice of a decision in 2014 where I and two other gentlemen, including Mr. Arnold, beat them for failing to do the same thing they did here, which was to conceal and hide who was behind the flyers. Okay? The Alliance case concerned Mr. Pace. Pretty much gonna call it like that. That's all it was about. Was hurting me and my family, mostly me. Okay? Exhibit 7 fact sheet in support of board director candidates Frank Gonzalez, Anthony Pizzi, and Mr. Josh Killett, and opposing myself and Mrs. Hudson. Okay? Mr. Pizzi's wife, Jan Pizzi, was on the Metropolitan Board of District Directors from 08 to 16. At that point, she was term limited. She is a member of the CIWRG and became a member at the request of Mr. Green. In addition to 2014, this went all the way back to 2010. 10, 12, 14, 16. 4 election cycles. Same person on the board, Mrs. Pizzi, who was also giving Mr. Green information all the way back about me. She didn't want me on that board. And for a lot more reasons than what people think, okay? It's mostly to cover up the financial matters that they didn't want made public. That's a fact. Hence the Cora matter. Now, in a decision here, this was posted on April 16th on Lynn Bliss's board site at falconlady.com. The Alliance for a Fair, it's supposed to be 7 independent Woodland Hills, produced and mail flyers that were basically anti-Ron, and they worked. He got the fewest votes. Again, that was the whole premise, was to defeat me in an election. Okay? They also found there was express advocacy in that campaign, along with this one. So this time around, okay, that's one of the reasons the CRRRG is sending out flyers. New residents may not know, and they want to remind everybody else. So this time around, the backers of the flyers registered as a 501c4, which allows them to disseminate information, but forbids them from advocating who to vote for or not vote for. There are no rules broken regarding registering with the Secretary of State. No. Wrong. That's the problem. The narrative put out by a person that you trusted, the president of this district, told you that there was no laws being broken, that there was nothing wrong to what they did. The $23,000 fine by the judge, and the law says otherwise. You see where I'm going? The people you thought you trusted to be telling you the truth were not. Okay? Sorry, Mrs. Bliss, but and Mr. Gonzalez, but it's what it is. The last paragraph reflects the express advocacy and magic words argument rejected by the ALJ. Right. They rejected it, and in their motion to dismiss. This argument was also rejected by Spencer in the Alliance case. They were doing it. They were for and against candidates, specifically. Okay? Mrs. Bliss helped create the mugshot flyer where the case that was dismissed against me, brought by Mr. Howell, a person that was involved in this whole mess, okay, who is now on the HOA board. When I told Mr. Reimers that there was outside interference and people collaborating and colluding to take over the HOA race and to keep me off the board, he blew me off. Not this time. We're going to see what happens when I run this time. We're going to see who does all the negative stuff now. And oh, by the way, the amount of money they spent on that was somewhere around $10,000 to $12,000. That wasn't included in this because it was not technically a state-sanctioned election. It was the CRRG major purpose to support candidates Anthony Pizzi, Joshua Killett, and Frank Gonzalez. That's it. All the rest of this is legal mumbo jumbo. Okay, we're going to get to the good part. This figure that they fined them, this brings the total fine to $23,147.86. This figure is close to the $23,779.64 that the CRRG ultimately reported as contributions for that particular election, not the HOA, by the way, because they spent more than that. The fine roughly matches the amount that the CRRG sought to hide from public scrutiny, okay? Fines should be of the same magnitude as the amount of money involved. Otherwise, persons seeking the high contributions and expenditures may view a potential sanction as merely the cost of doing business. Now you know. That's why this board and the people on it need to be removed and relieved. And that's my statement. Closing argument. I'm now going to tell you that the statements made by the employees of this district, who were also found in emails to be sending information to the developer, should have been dismissed. The comments and statements and information put out in these board meetings are grounds for termination. When Mrs. Peterson came into that board meeting the other night and started crying and drew the ire of other people, they didn't realize why she was doing it and offered to tell her to give her legal advice, which was not a very good idea, but we suggest that you do follow that legal advice. The reason why, I'm a father and I'm also a husband. But when someone can do something so sick and vile is to go into a room and tell people that I'm doing something to their kid that I'm not doing, it should be unreprehensible. And his conduct unbecoming an employee of this district. And that is all there is to it. That's the problem with Woodman Hills and why this board lacks any kind of support and is looked upon as hostile or negative or whatever acronym you want to use with it, or euphemism, either one. I don't think acronym is the right word. The point is, Mrs. Peterson, this wasn't something about you, but you got involved. And now you are so afraid of me using a rec center or walking around the block that you would literally draw your daughter into an argument about this. And that's just plain vile. I've done nothing to your kid. I've never touched your kid. And that incident involving the rec centers, I never did anything to what was put under those, what was put in there, especially where it says I never touched anybody. Okay? Mrs. Pittsey's statements were absolutely bogus. And then for you to sit there and draw the ire of people in that room because you want to explode into a Kleenex fest is wrong. The district is not holding anybody accountable for breaking the rules and the policies of this district. That should concern everyone as a voter. To what length is this board capable of attacking one of its own residents for having a different opinion? That's it. This turned into a personal slugfest years ago, and it should have never happened. Do I seem unreasonable? Do I seem unintelligent? Do I seem like all these things that they want people to believe? No. So, Ms. Peterson, don't ask me my opinion of why I think you should or should not be here. The fact that you've collaborated with these board members to do exactly what you're doing and tell Mr. Bendelow things that are false is the exact reason in your contract and in the policies of this district that are grounds for dismissal. End of story. So don't come on here and come into a board meeting and cry and expect to draw support with people who don't know everything. I am not about that. That's it. And that's my statement. Folks, you have to make a determination whether you know who is the person that is best suited to represent your morals, ethics, and that's it. It's just that simple. But now they can't put out a false narrative anymore. Mrs. Peterson, how dare you go into a room and make statements about me, insinuating doing things to your kid. It's just vile and sick, and it's beyond reprehension, and does need to be investigated. That, I can assure you of, needs to happen. The board refusing to take action, which is clearly evident by what happened at that board meeting, is the reason why they should no longer be in a position of authority. Thank you for stopping by, folks. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you have better things to do. I'm Mr. Pace for Exposed. Have a good afternoon.